Whoa. 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 It's the illusion reporting from somewhere on space ship Earth. I don't know. Maybe just turn that thing off for now. What's going on? What's going on, yo? It's the illusion reporting from somewhere on Spaceship Earth for another episode of Sober Wednesday. The hour dedicated to living in the solution from those who are suffering from the problem, dude. What's going on, 365? Yeah. What's going on? So yeah, we're here on a Sober Wednesday. I'm rearranging the office, so don't even trip on the background. We got new things coming. So I got to take it all apart to put it all back together. So with that said, it's Sober Wednesday, the hour dedicated to those who suffer so that we can be in the solution. All of us suffer at some point, and most of it is because of a lack of spiritual connectivity. And sobriety is the answer, but what is sobriety? That's what we explore here. So that's what we do with this situation. Here, need some light on there. Let me get that going. And we'll do a little reading here for a second, dude. That's a Canadian thing, dude. Don't trip, man. Anyway. So it's too much, dude. I don't know, dude. All right, so we're gonna read a little bit of the. All right, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, I can't change anything about some of this stuff right now, though. This light's really bugging me. That is not gonna work for me, dude. All right, there we go. That's better. All right. So all right, so we'll read a little bit of chapter 5, how it works, from the big book Alcoholics Anonymous. This is not associated with in any way with AA or affiliated with AA, or you got to go figure it out yourself, basically, in today's crazy ass world. But this is what I use, and it seems to be working for me almost 15 years later. So here we go. Chapter 5, how it works, page 58. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to the simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They seem to have been born that way. They are not at fault. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that they are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you've decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us, but there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons who we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to the alcoholic and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Many of us exclaim, what an order, I cannot go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have sat down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter of the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that no human power could have relieved our alcoholism, and that God could and would if he were sought. All right, man. Well, there you have it. It's that simple. It's just you do that. All right. So yeah, dude. And where are we at, dude? Where are we at on this Sober Wednesday? The other day, I think the interesting thing, and I get to this, like, so I'm like pretty far along in my day today, right? Like I woke up, I'm still sober today, and I'm probably going to make it to my pillow tonight without getting loaded, right? Like, all right, fantastic. And, I've done that a bunch of times over and over again, and it seems to be working. And the reason that it's working is because I'm allowing it to work, which is super important. But I've noticed that, and I've talked about this a bunch of times, is sobriety's like such an, like, so what is it like really, dude, right? Because I keep coming back to it, and I think this is just the stage of where I'm at in the thing is my experience as a sober person is completely different this day, which is, 15 years later day, or 14, I forget, what is it, 14, 15 and a half years later, right? And versus the first day, right? Like the first day, like it was really easy to understand the target, which was just not to drink and use for that day. Like, and just get as far away from the the life of chaos that I had led the day before, right? So, the first period of it all is as brutal and gnarly and just hectic as it is. On one level, is fairly like simple. Like the parameters of that first part of sobriety are pretty clear, dude. Just straight up, whatever you do, don't get loaded that day. And there's the way you go about doing that is to surround yourself with a bunch of people who know how not to get loaded and who know what sobriety is and know the path and have gone on the journey and are still on the journey and understand what that first day looks like. So on that first day, there's a lot of support on a level. Like, if again, I don't know how you do this without doing that, but I guess people do it other ways, dude, with push-ups or sitting at home and just clenching their fists. But me, I had a bunch of people around me, Joe, David, this cat Ross, some other characters, Jimmy Mack, a bunch of other characters, right? And they kept me as much as I wanted to get loaded. Ultimately I didn't, but at that, so right, mentally, like the beginning of it all, like I knew that I didn't want to get loaded, but my body, my actual physical form wanted to get loaded. Like the allergy was still in full effect. The want to not drink and use was there, but the body, you're fighting your body too, because the body is so used to all the sugar and drugs and stimulus of this lifestyle that you've invested basically the predominant energy prior to that on, right? So the body doesn't quite know what to do, and the mind doesn't really quite know what to do, but you've made a decision, so you're surrounding yourself with people so that your body doesn't take over. So that literally, like, I think in the beginning, it's just to make sure your body doesn't take over, because your body has a bunch of neural pathways that are built up. The arm knows how to drink, dude. The hands know how to smoke the pipe, dude. The nose knows how to sniff the drugs, right? Like there's a whole sort of like muscle memory to it. And then also the body is so used to ingesting poison that it doesn't quite know what to do when it's not ingesting poison. So the first part of it is very different than this stage of it, right? And so, this stage, like, I'm not worried about drinking. Like, I'm an alcoholic. I have the disposition but I don't really have any like desire, like I don't have any obsession about it. I don't have any need to, like, I've been through enough stuff where it's like, that kind of stuff, I'm not interested. Basically, it's just not there, dude. Right. So that part's easy at this stage of the game. It's probably not easy in the first part of the game, and I would say it wasn't. But now I'm in this thing now where it's like a lot of it is like the mental space, right? Like the mental space, the world I live in, dude. Like the world when I leave my sober bubble, dude. Like my sober bubble that I live on with my son and my wife and my animals and my tools and my little life raft out here in the world gone mad, right? Like I have to leave it to go to the market and do things. Like I gotta leave the bubble, right? And what I've noticed is the really gnarly part about it at this stage of the game is just dealing with alcoholism and drug abuse out in the field. And what do I mean by that? Is like, so the other day we were going hiking up somewhere, and the road, there's only a couple roads up here, but we were going up into the high country, and there's one road up there. And someone had managed to do a single car rollover in the back can up the river here, right? So, all of a sudden you're stuck in this space where you can't you just got to kind of wait it out or just go home and call it quits for the day. But we were all like in our like sober heads, so we were like, yeah, we'll just wait it out and hang out, out there. It was like 45 minutes. But when you're looking at the scene, that these are people that are 100% not sober. And because of their lack of like sobriety, like their life is sort of beat down, and you can see it. And then you're watching them interact with the people trying to, like, the cops and the fire guys and the rangers and the whole thing. And you can tell they're just, they're probably not going to jail that day, but they've just lost their vehicle. They just shut down everybody's like free movement for the day. And it's just a bunch of like idiots. And the thing that I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, when I leave my property, like, it's back into the world of alcoholism. And I think I, like, on a certain level, like, I struggle with that at this stage of my life, because me personally, in my own personal bubble, like, I run a pretty tight ship. And then I go out into the world, and I wonder why things are so hectic. And then I've really come down to understand that it's alcoholism and drug addiction is why most of the stuff is so weird out there. And so I've had to make a conscious effort of like approaching the outside world with the very similar mentality to my early sobriety, of allowing it to be powerless and unmanageable. Because me personally, like, my personal hula hoop, solid, man. But when I go out in the world and I'm sitting there and I'm like, why is this so hectic? Like, for example, another prime example is like, and I've talked about this before, like some drunk driver in the middle of the day, like a year ago, was hammered and wrecked his car off the side of the canyon, killed himself. His car burst into flames, and he burned down the entire like mountain and burned up a bunch of people lost their houses and the whole thing. And it's like, yeah, it shut down the whole world up here for like 10 days, burned down a bunch of people's houses, cost the taxpayer hundreds of thousands of dollars, or if not millions, to put the fire out. And it was all because of like one drunk asshole. And so I struggle with having like empathy about it at this stage of the game. Not on like a selfish, like, oh, it's inconvenient for me type of vibe. Like, yeah, I can roll with that. I think on just this weird level of like, I can understand almost the alcoholic mindset, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. But I think in 2025, I'm starting to get fucking annoyed about it, dude. And it's starting to piss me off. And I'm starting not to have a lot of like empathy for those who are struggling, because I'm like, there's no lack of knowledge. When I was in if I look back when I was in the heyday of my insanity in 1990, in the 90s, let's say, there was none of this going on. It was definitely like AA was definitely an anonymous program, dude. I'd never heard of it, dude. Like, all I remember really was Toma came and spoke at my high school Like if you know Toma, it's maybe a Gen X type of thing. This dude came and spoke at my high school in like 1986, and they shut down the high school for like 3 days to listen to this dude speak. And we spent the whole time like getting high, drinking and smoking weed to go listen to this clown. It was like a reason to like rebel and party on, dude. Like that's as much like as I really recall. Like, and there was the standard dare was big back then, and but we used to call it drugs are really epic and all that kind of stuff. And then Nancy Reagan was out saying just say no and all that kind of stuff. But like this AA thing and it really wasn't there wasn't like this readily available solution, I guess is what I'm saying. It was still sort of mythical and like no one really understood. So here we are in 2025, and it's literally like there's a dude on a computer right now who dedicates an hour every Wednesday to talk about the solution to your problem, which was to not take the medicine to solve the problem type of thing, right? Like we're here in this modern world, and I'm like still like looking at people like you haven't gotten the message like yet, like you haven't figured out the one reason why. I think I don't even know if I'm on a sober message right now. I'm just sort of talking about my struggle as a sober dude dealing with the society that still chooses to be like hammered. Like, and I'm like, dude, like seriously, like there's no doubt in 2025, if you want to push back against the system, then don't drink their booze and take their pills and smoke their weed, dude. Like, don't do that. Or stop. Like again, I don't know, dude, or do what. So I sit there, and it's like this thing. Like I was driving in our little town here. It's mostly a bunch of like bars, and it was like 4 o'clock, right? And I went into town because the power was out, and I wanted to see what was going on with my mom and whatever. So I went and made sure the power was out, because I don't know. We got solar, dude, because we're sober, dude. Our power never goes out, dude, because we're sober fucking people, man. And or I'm a sober person, right? Like I can only speak for myself. But so I was looking at these people drinking at the bar, dude, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, it's so weird to me. Like it's not that I don't get it. I used to love getting pickled in the daytime, dude, at the bar. I used to like to be in the dark, dirty bar and then walk out and it be super bright and have a daytime buzz, dude, and just be like, dude. That usually involved going and getting something a little extra, dude. Some go-go powder. But I was looking at these dudes, and I'm just like, what is that? And I was like, what is that all about? And I'm like, again, I tried it, but I go, my data banks about drugs and alcohol come from a time when there wasn't a lot of access to sobriety. Like this is what I mean. Like in the mid 90s to the late 90s, I used to go down to Costa Rica a lot. And I used to stay in with my we had this friend down there. So I used to stay at his place a lot. And I remember one day I went surfing, and I was walking up the hill, like out of town and up to the jungle place that we had. And I'm walking up the hill, and I remember distinctly, it's like it's seared into my mind. I remember seeing a sign on the side of the road as I was walking on. It was Alcohólicos Anónimos, like in Spanish, or however they say it in Spanish, right? And the AA thing, and an arrow pointing into to some building on the other side of the little like river in the jungle there. And I remember like seeing it and being like, wondering what that was all about. Because again, like I didn't know. I hadn't gotten a Dewey yet. I just didn't really get what was Alcoholics Anonymous. I really thought it was like a drinking club or something. Like I just didn't know. But I remember sitting there, like walking up this hill, being like, I wonder what that's all about. Like, what is that Alcoholics Anonymous about, dude? And sort of tripping out. And so I come from that world where, like, in my youth, it was mythical. Like it just wasn't out there. And now I look at it and I go, it's super like out there. Like I was, like, I don't know. It just trips me out. So like, I have this weird thing that I'm so over people that are loaded being retarded, man. And I'm like, all right, man, like there, but for the grace of God, go I, and all that kind of stuff. But I sit there but I'm like at this stage of the game in my life, I have this like weird click. And again, is serenity. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the willingness to know the difference. I have this like weird thing where like I look at them now not as anything but like, how much of my life force are you costing me? Because I know from experience how much shit I caused, and like how sloppy it was, and how many people got burned, and just how much exponential burden on the system I was as an active alcoholic, dude, right? Like just, and I wasn't even like a troublemaker really, but like, there was enough burned bridges where you can be like, yeah, dude, like I cost a bunch of people a bunch of time and a bunch of energy and a bunch of space and a bunch of like, so I have that like self-reflective understanding when I see these people now. But then I sit there and I go, but what's your excuse? Like, why are you like the fact that anyone's getting a DUI in 2025 trips me out. like there was no Uber back in the day. Like I used to ride my bike and risk, but even on a bike you can get a Dewey, dude. So I don't know. So I sit there and I'm having this weird struggle with dealing with not whether anyone gets loaded or not. Like do your thing, dude. Like, but just can't you keep it can't you run like a little bit of a tight ship a little bit, like instead of being so sloppy? But I mean, I guess that's the nature. I don't know, because that's where I become an elitist snob. Is like I didn't really ran a pretty tight ship when I was loaded. That's why I got to stay out there as a drug addict alcoholic for so long, is because I really did run a pretty tight ship, dude. I wasn't one of those people that you would have like bumped into that's balling up the system. In fact, that's not where I was causing my interface trouble with. In fact, to the point where I just isolated myself. But so I think about that a lot lately, of just how much drug addiction and alcoholism still affects my life. And I ain't even getting loaded, dude. And I used to be pretty like, we're in the business of saving lives, but I realized that like it's taken on a whole new weird twist. And I go like, what is that? It's just something I'm like just pondering, dude. There's no answer. I just think that like me personally, it's sort of I have to, like, I'm sort of dealing with this sort of like dickish sort of side of myself, where like I'm not in that space of like, I'm a definitely will stop and help people, but at this point, like I actually like try to like help people, and they're just it's always like it's a but it's not anything new. Again, I guess I just can't look past myself as I got to be like, and not everyone's a special pony like me, dude. But like you want to help people, and I'm not going to stop helping people, but like just the vortex of helping people now is so like weird, dude. Like everybody wants to like have an out. And I'm just like, there is no out, bro. There is no kinder, softer, gentler way. It is like hand-to-hand combat with your own, with your darkness, man. And I don't know, man. I'm trying to be like I'm trying to re-engage a little bit more with society. In that sense of be like, okay, dude, like, but it's just I don't know. I don't even know what I'm getting at. Like so that's where I'm at with my struggle with alcoholism and addiction. It's my perception of the outside world dealing with and where I guess I'm ratting myself out is I'm not very empathetic anymore. I've lost a certain empathy about it. And it's not because like I don't care, like I actually really do care. I guess what I'm getting at is I've lost a certain empathy because I'm pretty aware of what's available in 2025. Like really at this point, it's at this point, it is literally like again, I'm about to say something I know is kind of counter to the whole what addiction and alcoholism is, right? Like it's an obsession of the mind, right? So it doesn't really matter how much information's out there, right? You have an obsession of the mind, you have an allergy of the body, you have a spiritual malady. So in that sense, I'm like just totally calling bullshit on myself, right? Because like if it was all about like the signals being broadcast, I guess it wouldn't be an issue, but it is an issue because like at the end of the day, it's a mental obsession. It's a physical allergy and it's a spiritual malady, dude. And like, so, okay, so what is that? And I go, yeah, we live in a spiritually bankrupt society where most of the people that claim to be spiritual are just shuck and jive and really in it for like and so okay, so you got that thing where like the spiritual program's a little tough for people. I get that. And it's been so poisoned with bad actors that so you can't really like that's why like listen, me personally with like the sober thing, I don't approach people too hard with the spiritual solution because our society has poisoned it so radically that it just people get all weird about it. Like you got to almost backdoor. That's why like we don't get into like a certain like aspect of like my deeper spiritual understanding. Like I'm not that's not where I'm at because people are like so like weirded out because the people that are running the spiritual scene are scumbags, dude. Like I do get that as if you're newly sober and you got a bunch of people going like it's a spiritual solution and you're looking around and you're like, wait, these dudes are all murderers and money grubbers and charlatans and cult leaders and like the spiritual solutions like that. And I go, nah, that's why you got to be like it. That's not the spiritual solution that we're speaking of. And so yeah, I get that people are jaded. So okay, so that avenue's cut off to your average person out there. The spiritual. So door number one is been tainted by a poisoned society. Okay, right. But all right, I get that. Now that I'm working it out. And so what door number two is the mental obsession. Fuck, it's being broadcast and just defused and like, yeah, okay, so it's White Claws and D9 or whatever the stuff is, and all sorts of loopholes. And it's not heroin, it's ketamine. It's not this, it's that. So the doctor prescribed it. Okay. So like I get like, so the mental part, like, yeah, you can't fight them on that because it's just coming in all avenues. And then even the people that are offering like these weird solutions are like, don't want to address the elephant in the room, right? Because they're like, oh, dude, and it's not a spiritual solution. Like, so that's like the weird thing with all these dudes who are selling like, just be a man and do push-ups and get sober being a man, dude. And it's like, yeah, but like you're just dealing with the allergy and the mental. Like, it's spiritual. Like, the spiritual thing's the only thing that keeps me sober, like the connection with God, right? And so then you get to the physical allergy, dude. And that's really all you got to work with at, like, in our society right now, is really the physical allergy thing. And then you look at like most, like, the alcoholics, if you can get to them, are almost like easier to deal with. But then there's it's I don't know, dude. It's all so crazy. It is nuts, dude. I don't know, man. I don't really know what I'm getting at, dude, at all. Except that as the more sober I get, it's sort of like I was saying, like with the off the grid thing. Like, the further I get off the grid, the closer I know, the more dependent I know I need to be on the grid. Like, that was my big wake up here with the homesteading thing and the getting the ranch going and stuff, and like trying to be off the grid. The more off the grid I get, the more grid dependent I know I am. It's like this inverted weird thing. Like, when I was on the grid, I didn't really know how dependent upon the grid I was. Now that I'm like trying to get off the grid, I'm like, ooh, I really need the grid for all sorts of like useful things, dude. Like, I'm more conscious of how dependent upon the grid I am now as a dude trying to get off the grid than I was when I was on the grid. So I think sobriety is like that in a little bit for me right now. Is the more sober I get, the more I realize how affected by drugs and alcohol, like just the society I live in, and all the components of the society I live in are. And so I haven't escaped it. Like, I mentally and spiritually and physically have escaped alcoholism and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, have I escaped the truth of it? No, I haven't. And that's where I've like, it's like this fourth component to, like, it's now I'm formulating this in real time. You got the mental obsession, you got the physical allergy, and you got the spiritual malady. The fourth thing is the societal embedding of it, which isn't addressed in anything that I've seen so far, is the actual living in a hammered society of where all the laws and rules are based upon people being loaded, dude, and drunk and spilling on them. So why is your health insurance so high? And why are there all these cops sitting on the road? And why is all this? It's because everybody's pickled and on pills and slamming their cars into like trees and causing, it's a lot of that. And then the people in charge are pounding whiskey and taking pills and making stupid laws that only benefit them, so they can get more drug, be more pimping their ride, and then all the music, and it's just all of it, right? So there's this fourth thing I think I'm struggling on, and it's not in a certain aspect of like the sober thing, right? Of what it is, right? Because I completely understand the allergy. Like, I get that. Like, that's why I don't drink and use drugs, and why I can't like teetote or take a sip or anything. I'm fully aware that if I take a drink or smoke some dope or take a pill, I'm off to the races. Like, I get the allergy. Like, I'm fully aware of the allergy. So that I got that on the thing. The mental obsession, I'm so understand the mental obsession. I don't obsess it anymore, right? Like it was removed from me, dude. The whole thing was removed from me, dude. God intervened, which is the spiritual solution. I'm quite aware of my spiritual situation. But this fourth thing that I've been like dealing with that's really become quite apparent to me over the because like listen, when I was in the grid, right? When I was in the grid, it wasn't so pronounced. It was just sort of like the way it is, like life. And but now that I live where like I don't really leave my lifeboat that often, unless I got to go do something, I really do see how taxing drugs and alcohol are on the system and how much it taxes me in the system. And it's like this thing where like just dealing with, I've had to deal with some people that are like so spun out on pills and just all the problems that come with that lifestyle. It's like, dude, and there's no getting out of it. It's just like I got to deal with it. But I find that it's like some of the stuff doesn't work for me. Like so it gets me to this thing where like I'm like, I don't want to say I'm bitter about it. It's not a bitterness. I don't have a bitterness. It's a tension. It's more like tense. It makes me tense now. And I like the other night I really was, why am I so tense? And I started to think about like what it was. And it took me back. I told the story when I started doing carpentry again in the beginning of my sobriety. And I walked off that job with the old crew I was with because I realized that in order to work with those dudes, I needed to be high because everything was chaotic and based upon everybody was stoned and all the chords were a mess and the whole thing. And so, no, Dazzer's deleting someone, dude. What do we got going on? Anyway, so that's where I'm at. I don't really know. But so here we are, man. What do you guys got, dude? What do we got going on, dude? It's an interesting thing. But just tuning in, man. You're on a sober focused channel with healing as a priority and you're talking about getting high. How is that not trolling? Wooden chips, dude. Yeah. Chat is fired up today, dude. Cactus. Yeah, battery. Yeah, it apparently is fired up today, dude. It's but that I guess that's where it is there is like I think about it when I was like going back to like how like I've been thinking of Dylan Anderson, Nate Sherwood. Yeah, that dude sounds familiar. Like I think I saw something on him recently, dude, where he was doing that curb thing. Anyway, good for you, Dylan. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how, one of the hustles when I was young, like there were no real like sober role models because everyone's anonymous, right? Or whatever. Like there weren't any real sober role models. There were just these sober book thumpers, dude. Like that's what I mean is like if I go back to my like, because we did all that like stuff in high school and we had the Mothers Against Drug like I will say like the stuff that always did sort of like stand out was like when the Mothers Against Drunk Driving would bring the car and put it on the front lawn of the high school that the the local teen had died in. That was always pretty like, whoa, bro. Like, but it didn't stop any of us, dude. It was like, whoa, like it was sort of like, whoa, but it wasn't like there was like the cool dude who came up. It wasn't like your favorite like surfer was there and being like, hey, look, you guys, man, like it's all good, dude. Let me tell you, dude, it's not just say no, and it's not this, and it's not that. It's this, dude. And let me explain what it is a little bit. Because when I was in, I was in high school. I graduated high school in 1987. So middle of the 80s, it was this whole like equating marijuana to like all of a sudden you're going to be a junkie type of stuff, which was, I think, super counterproductive, because then you smoked weed and you were like, man, whatever, dude. Like, what's the thing? But I think if they had really gone in and sort of like explained the hustle behind the thing, like the real hustle of like, look, dude, like you're going to dig it. You might not, but you're probably going to like it. But this is why it's a scam. It's not a scam because you like it. That's not the scam. The scam is it's ultimately going to prevent you from getting to what you like about it. The weed is going to show you what it is that you like about it and then keep you from ever getting there. Like if someone had come along and explained like the paradoxical understanding of enlightenment through like drugs and alcohol and spirit and why it's called spirits and all that stuff. If they'd come in and gone, look, dude, the reason that you're going to like, if you're like anyone else, you're probably going to go and you're like me, you're going to go use drugs and alcohol and you're going to like them. And you're going to like them for all sorts of various reasons, dude. But if you like them for the same reason, I like it. See, I didn't like drugs and alcohol because I was trying to solve a problem. Like I wasn't the dude who was like, oh my God, like my parents got divorced or someone beat me or I was fiddled with or anything like that. I was just literally a 1987 Gen X kid who was like, yeah, dude, like keggers and joints and like woohoo, dude, in the 80s, dude. There was no trauma to like why I took drugs and alcohol. It was just like that's what was going on. But the message not to do it didn't help at all. The Nancy Reagan going, just say no, and the DARE campaign with the cops showing up and being like sitting there and explaining to me, like, fuck these guys, dude. Like, fuck you, Nancy Reagan. Suck a bag of dicks, dude. And then this Toma guy, dude, with this 3 days on campus, like, fuck off, bro. Like, but none of them ever came from a point of view as like, I'm a cool dude. I have a cool life. I relate to you because I do what you do. I'm in touch with you. And this is the hustle. It's a scam, dude. It's a scam. The reason that you're going to like to get high is the same reason it's not going to work. Like, what do you mean? Because whatever you experience in that first beginning phase of getting high, you're going to chase it forever. And the weed will never give it to you. And you're never going to understand that till you stop smoking weed. So for me, I spent 25 years smoking weed, dude. What, from the time I was, maybe more, dude, from the time I was like 13, 14 till I'm 39 when it turned on me finally. Cause I stopped smoking weed right before on my own before I got sober. The weed had turned on me, man. But so what's that? Like 20, 25 years, dude, right? So I smoked weed for 25 years and I didn't understand that the thing I was chasing with the first phase of weed smoking was I was going to find sober. Like if you had told me the best part of being a stoner was not smoking weed and getting sober, I would have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's what I can tell you. If you're a young person out there who's smoking weed, the best part of getting high off of marijuana is having that and then never needing it again and being able to tap in at any given time and go to it and understand that it's just a wavelength. It was never the weed. The weed was not what it was, dude. It activated your body and did a chemical reaction. But why you liked it, why you're still ripping bong hits and doing all that stuff, dude, imagine being able to get to the first part of smoking weed and not having to go on a 25-year journey, dude, and being like, yeah, dude, like that's what I always joke. Like the ultimate bong hit, the best bong hit I ever took was sobriety, dude. Because I'm a stoner, dude, for life. I will always be a stoner, dude. I don't have my issue isn't with the drugs and alcohol on the level of like what they are. My issue with it is they're a scam. Like that's my issue with it is it's a scam. The reason that I liked alcohol was the best part of it. Like it disappeared almost immediately, dude. Like the reason I liked the Coke and the pills and all this stuff almost disappeared the moment I took it. Like the first part of it was like, whoa, like bitching, and then it was gone. And then you're chasing it forever when it's like, oh, like, no, dude, like as a sober guy, I can tap into all that. So I always trip with people. I'm like, dude, like, if you really want to be stony, get super sober, dude, and then you'll see how stony it gets. You really want to see how far the bunny hole goes with like psychedelics? Get sober, dude, and see what your own perception without drugs and alcohol manufactures for you. And you'll be like, whoa, bro, like that. So that's like, I mean, going back to what I was talking about in the beginning, like there's enough information out there where it's like, why would you like take tranks? I get it. But where I don't get it is I didn't come from an abused, neglected space as a child. Like I literally came into drugs and alcohol as a scientist, as like a research chemist. So I don't know, like I truly don't know what it is to come from like a home where your uncle was fisting you, dude. Like yeah, maybe that would get you like laying on the boulevard taking trank, dude. Like maybe that's, I don't know what it is to have parents that didn't love you and all that. So I didn't come from a broken home. I didn't have a bunch of weird shit going on when I was a kid. So maybe as I'm working through this thing in this hour, maybe that's where I need to get the empathy back. Is like, oh, wow, maybe these people have like real fucked up stories, which a lot of them do. And that's why it's so hard for them to like get sober, is because like I was just a research chemist who got carried away with it. So like whatever it was that I found in it, they're never going to find in it because they were never taking the drugs and the alcohol to like get stony. They were taking it because they were in pain. Like, all right. This is what it's all about. Like I just came full circle. Like I can actually walk out of my lifeboat now and be like, oh, okay, I don't need to be like uptight with these people anymore. Like, oh yeah. Like, cause see, I'm an elitist. Like one of my character defects is I'm a freaking snob. And I cause I don't know what it is. So like I just broke the code of what's going on with me, with my like disdain for addicts and alcoholics lately. It's because I'm a snob and I'm a self-righteous dickhead. So now that I've humbled myself by working this out in real time and been like talk to you about it. See, that's the difference, right? It's a program of thorough honesty. I could have come in here and spoon-fed you guys some BS, dude, and been like, oh, dude, like, you know, you just got to do. No, I'm telling you the truth. Like, I'm trying to figure out why, like, I'm uptight. about all these assholes running around fucking hammered with their beat up cars and their fucking yards full of trash, laying on the street with their trash bags. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like, they might have been like beat up as kids. Like they might have actually been like abused children. Ah, okay. Yeah, that would fuck up your adulthood, wouldn't it? Like, yeah, trippy. So, because I'm willing to admit like my character defects, that I'm a total elitist snob, now I have to admit it. Now I have to have God remove that defective character, right? I have to actually go in and reassess my perception of those who are suffering now, because I can't view it through my experience, right? My experience is fucking soft. All right. So, this was a good one for me personally, dude. I just figured something out, dude. Like, because see, like as an alcoholic, I can't run around like that. I can't have that confusion about what it is, because that's what it'll get me. Like that'll get me into a resentment. It's beginning to get like that, where I'm like resentful against the thing, and now I'm like, oh yeah, okay. There, but for the grace of God, go I. So God has graced me. What has God graced me with? Yeah, God has graced me with a blessed life. So now God has graced me with a new ability to perceive what an unblessed life is and try to get him back to the blessing. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think this was an important podcast for me, because like I said, this is like a lot of the times I show up here to do this Sober Wednesday, it's all good. Today, this was me going, I'm not legit. I'm full of shit. And so that's where we got to be honest. It's okay to be full of shit, dude. Like 100%. Like that's okay. It's just how long you're going to stay there, dude. I don't like it. I don't want to stay there. I don't want to be uptight. I don't want to look at the dude who just flipped his car on the back canyon and be like, that guy's a scumbag. Fuck him. He deserves to be in a wood chipper. I need to actually be like, oh man, that's rough, bro. Like that dude needs some help, man. Maybe I can be of service to that guy. Right. No, but seriously, dude, right? Anyway, listen, man, if you're thinking of finishing yourself off, don't do that. Because even if you're so far down the thing, there's dudes like me and people like me that are trying to figure out how to be of service to you. Like we want to help. And we can't help ourselves unless we help you. It's like that. So if you're struggling out there, please call one of the suicide prevention lines and ask for help. It's the 9888's the text, and all that stuff is you can find them online. And if you're struggling with drugs and alcohol, you can just look up your town AA central office and you'll get a meeting place and a list of meetings. And you just go to one of those meetings and announce yourself and shake a hand and get a cup of coffee and try to find the similarities and not the differences, dude. And let's be grateful, dude. This was a good hour for me, dude. I needed this. I needed this. This helped a bunch, dude. This is going to help me out to be of service to my fellow strugglers out there. Wear it like a loose garment, right, Dowser? All right. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change the things I can. And the wisdom to know the difference, dude. Called choke. Let's see what that is, dude. Oh, is this one of those by what's his name from the author Palinchek, dude? Yeah, Palinchek's tough, dude. I did anyway. Thanks for hanging out with me, dude. And yeah, dude, God willing, I'll be back here next Wednesday. And yeah, the 100 things are kind of off the hook. I don't know how sober that dude is. He seems pretty like loopy to me, but um so with that said, God, thank you. And we'll be back next Wednesday, and we'll be doing some more rants. Like I said, we're redoing, but that's not here nor there. Thank you, and we'll see you at the next one. Good night.